It'll take up less time to convert on the computer.
I know. And then people will have no excuses but to watch a 30-minute long podcast between two empath warriors and
We are
unicorns at the same time. Unicorn warriors.
unicorn warriors, yes, and energy ninjas,
Yeah,
rainbow people,
yeah.
all the archetypes.
Hmm.
I think you froze a bit.
I think you froze because I still see myself move. Yours freeze a little bit. I think mine probably does too because me being in this room.
Yeah, that's the internet where I am isn't the greatest.
Yeah, me too.
Everyone home using internet.
Well, for me, it's not everyone home using the internet. It's everyone home, so I've been kicked off my desk.
Hmm.
Right, because if I'm there, it's everyone making noises. You can hear the TV behind the wall. You can hear the husband working in the basement. I mean, the cat is going to be there regardless,
Yeah.
right? But anyways,
I
so
mean, it's an adjustment.
mhm.
And I think a lot of families are experiencing, like, how do we adjust to accommodate everybody being home together without driving each other crazy?
It has been an adjustment for sure. My morning routine, because it's like I created my morning routine. I've been following it for like 2 months, or almost 3 months, and then everybody stays home, and my morning routine went down the toilet, right? And it's been a challenge, and I mean, I know I'm responsible for it because I don't blame anyone for it. I only blame myself because if I want to stick to my morning routine, I'm the one that needs to then set the boundaries for everything else. And I know that and I understand that. But it still sucks because when everyone is home, so here's an example, okay? Um, the kids go to bed in the evening at around 9 o'clock. Okay. Normally, my husband and I, we would go to bed at 9:30, so that way we can wake up at like 5:30 in the morning. Well, he wakes up at 5:30, and I was waking up at 4:59 to give myself that half an hour of my alone, quiet time. Nobody there, nobody's up, everybody's still sleeping. Um, and why 4:59? And because it gives me a 1 minute head start before 5 o'clock. um, and I used to like everything like in solid numbers, and I don't even know what happened. Now I just like certain random numbers. But anyways, by with my morning routine, I would have my morning to myself. I would do my meditation by myself. I would drink my water. I would listen to my motivational speeches. Sometimes I would stretch depending on how I feel when I wake up, right? And of course, the bathroom. And then I go and make my husband his coffee, and I bring his coffee, and we work out. But now, when the kids go to bed, we stay up, and we stay up until about 12 at night, which throws the whole schedule off. Because if I wake up at 4:59, that's not enough sleep.
No, no, that's not.
We need 7.5 hours of sleep, like between 7 and 7.5 hours of sleep. That's what we need. So I try to aim for that. So when we go to bed at like 12, then I would set my alarm for 7.5 hours later. And like, for example, today in the morning, I wasn't able to even find not even like 2 minutes to do a meditation. And that's because honestly, I just woke up and I felt like crap about myself. But and it's like the gremlin comes up and starts telling you, well, you should have done this. You've been wanting to go back to your morning routine, and yet you're not doing it, right? You're staying up with your husband instead of doing what you want to do, even though I do want to stay up and watch the movies and spend time together, right? So all of this is your doing. You can't blame anyone. right? So if you want something, you go and do it. And in the morning you wake up, that starts to replay. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm not listening to you. I'm just gonna sit in peace and quiet on a toilet, on my throne, my meditation station sometimes, um, and play a different message, right? So changing the words to the ones that I would much rather hear.
Yeah.
Um, and honestly, my headphones, only one ear plays and the other one doesn't play anymore. So that's another reason I'm like, I don't want to do a meditation half-eared,
Yeah.
right? So that, to me, that's been my biggest challenge with.
Yeah. I mean, good for you for recognizing that the gremlin is talking shit because you're doing the best you can with the given circumstances. And like, yeah, you know that it's your responsibility to cultivate a morning routine for yourself, but at the same time, there's no narrative, there's no blueprint for how to navigate what everyone's dealing with right now. So you're literally figuring it out moment to moment. So, and I saw on your Instagram that you I saw the pictures of you with your headphones and all these different places, and so it looked like you were making a solid effort to meditate and make that time for yourself.
Well, because I set the alarm and I wake up still a little bit. I wake up a little bit earlier than everyone else, right? To give myself like the first morning when I started doing that again, right? Because then now it comes at a different time. And I did love doing my meditation when it was like pitch black and everyone is sleeping. It's just so peaceful and quiet. Nothing replaces that, honestly. And I would like to go back to that routine. But at the same time, I do enjoy time with my husband right now, right? Because I don't know how long he's going to be home. Chances are he might go back to work in a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because being in the automotive industry as a technician, like car doctor, they are needed, right? Otherwise, the company's going to lose business because they'll go somewhere else. Um, so on the first day, my son came to, he basically cut my meditation short. Right. So like, okay, I guess it's your time now. And then the second day I managed to meditate myself in the bathroom, in the quiet, in the dark. So, and that's why I say like there's nothing wrong with sitting on a throne. That kind of rhymes. Nothing wrong with sitting on a throne and feeding your mind,
Yeah.
right? And then on the third day, my dog came and kind of like hijacked the whole thing. She was spreading all over me, stretching. It's like, okay, well, but I involve her in the meditation, right? Because when she lays there right on me, um, she doesn't like go nuts. She just lays down calmly and peacefully. So I just put my hands on her or with her. Um, I'll be sharing those posts probably sometime later when I'm able to take a picture of it or record or however I'm going to do it. But those moments that I have with her, those are just they're my favorite because they're so like um, connection. That's what I feel. I feel true connection
Oh yeah.
with I, it's not just with her, it's with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like we I don't know how to explain it. It's like the universe is
Mm-hmm.
felt through her. And in that moment, I'm not just with her, I'm not just with me. It's everything and everyone in the universe. And it's just quiet, peaceful, and dark. Even if there's like kids screaming in the background, when I'm it's like when I put my face to her face like this, um, I don't hear anyone else,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because she just sits there quietly, right, with her eyes. I don't know if they're open or closed, but I imagine they're closed because mine are. Even though dogs don't really close their eyes very often like that. But it's, I mean, the reason why I bring this up is because so many of us, including myself, are so quick to have excuses as to why we can't do it. And we don't realize that those moments are very meditative, right? Those moments
Mhm.
when we get to practice.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing.
Mhm. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. You froze. You froze, so I thought you were done talking, so I started talking.
I know it like freezes here and there. No, what I was just saying is that those moments are the moments that sometimes is all we need,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
You had an expectation that you were going to have that time for yourself to meditate, and then your dog came into the picture,
Hmm.
and you adjusted. And in that moment, like what you were describing, that intimate connection to everything, like that's one of the goals of meditation, is to get to that place. Like that's what level 7 energy is, that place where you feel intimately connected to everything, and the universe.
Hmm.
And so to recognize, to be able to shift and realize, okay, so maybe meditation didn't go how I thought it would go, but this is still a meditative act. And because you're surrendering to the moment and the now, and all
Hmm.
the now required of you is to experience that intimacy with through your dog. Like your dog is a portal for that experience of that now, where you are where you do feel that intimate connection. And it's so beautiful, like that in that moment, all the other noise was just kind of like filtered out. Like I'll have these experiences meditating where you would think like I remember once meditating in Boston where there were always like ambulance and sirens, and I remember meditating, and an ambulance went by, and I was like, I remember having the thought like, oh, right on time. Because it was like whatever I was like experiencing that meditation, every sound was part of the symphony.
Hmm.
So it sounds like even hearing your kids making noise and stuff, like it doesn't interrupt the you don't experience agitation in that moment, or it doesn't interrupt the symphony and the cosmic flow that you're feeling.
No, I think it actually adds to it because it almost like, because, okay, I'm just, the way I would explain it is when you go into that trance, trance state, right?
Mhm.
Music is the one, the sounds and the music, that's what brings you into that feeling, right? Where you're just kind of like um in space, floating in space, right?
Mhm.
And everything is like muffled and quiet, almost like listening to it through noise canceling headphones, and you're hearing it through that. That's what I would experience. That's how I would explain that experience with the kids making noises, with the TV, with anything else that I was hearing, kids from outside.
Mhm.
It adds to it, right? And it helps. It could help a person. It helped me to go deeper within.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes. Oh, I can so relate to that. Like I had that experience recently listening to the birds outside in my backyard. Like that's where I get into my trance state, like just sitting outside listening to the birds, because then I can hear them. Like the more I listen, the more I can hear for miles, and like I can hear them all communicating. And then there are all these other noises, like someone doing yard work, or like someone playing with their kids, and or something that is like jarring, like yesterday my I was like in that state, and my neighbors next door started playing catch, so the sound of the ball in the glove, at first I was like, whoa, that was like loud at first, and then it became part, like the thought of loving what arises. Like if you love what arises, nothing can throw you off. And so I was like, oh, love what arises, like I loved that, and then there was like a rhythm to that as well. And so it did like challenge me to go deeper. Like any noise that wasn't, like I was there to just like sit and listen to the birds, and all the other noises that weren't the birds challenged me to go deeper into the universe, and like I being able to reach a place of loving awareness. Like I was actually telling my friend yesterday, I was like, whoa, I've always loved the Ram affirmation mantra. I am loving awareness. It's always resonated with me. And yesterday it resonated at a whole new depth, like whole new level where I embodied it. And it's partially thanks to this book that I'm reading of his called Still Here. And in it, he describes awareness as the mother and the soul as the child. So then our life, like the journey of the soul, is like our way back to the mother, which is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, in that moment of being aware, I was I felt like unconditionally loving of everything that was arising because I was aware of it. So
Mm-hmm.
as long as I was aware of it, I could love it. And I was like, oh, this is loving awareness. And I just like had this moment of bliss, and I was like, this is good shit. Like,
It is. I wonder how many people that are watching have experienced that moment and can understand what we're talking about.
yeah. Mhm.
Um, I have experienced that in gardening as well, being outside. Like when you playing in the dirt, quite often I would put music on, but not like words music, more like sounds. I call it healing music, right? So just some sound, some vibration, something, and I would find myself just doing the gardening work and completely like find myself in between.
Yeah.
I'm not gardening and I'm not listening and I'm not moving and I'm not there, and yet I am there and I'm physically moving and I'm doing these things, but I'm not actually there. And what made me realize as I was listening to you and your experience, that's my children, and then thinking of my experience, and it made me realize that I think a lot of our dreams and goals that we go after, what we truly are after is the feeling and the motion of that experience,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't go to garden to garden. I go to garden to have that kind of an experience, right? Looking to the future, I'm just thinking of like how I want to be living and how I want to be feeling in that moment or in those moments, and the emotions I want to be experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I would imagine that that's exactly what we're all after, not things outside of us, but things that are inside of us that we can pull from and use at any given point in time.
Mm-hmm. Have you read Danielle Laporte's The Desire Map?
No.
That's exactly how she prescribes planning and like goal setting is based on how you want to feel. And as an empath, I found that particularly empowering because I realized here we are, empaths who feel everything so deeply and who have these gifts that allow us to travel into those feelings like mind, body, and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can lay in bed and travel into the feeling of childhood or like whatever it is, or like gratitude when I'm at the beach, and whatever feeling it is that I want to feel, I can get there in an instant through that heart portal. And empaths have this unique capacity to travel through space and time through the heart, through our feeling. So when I read the desire map, I thought that this, like, we are at an advantage for manifesting our dreams, because if it's all based on feeling,
Mm-hmm.
Then who better, like who's more equipped than empaths to design lives for ourselves? So what she explains is basically what you were saying, like really detaching from any end goal, any end result in terms of like out things outside of us, like whether it's a promotion. Like I've had a conversation with someone in the past who wanted a promotion, and that's not always guaranteed. Like the things we want, promotion, marriage, kids, house, um country club, like status, these identity attachments, they're not guaranteed. So when like even losing weight, like going on a diet to lose weight, the pounds coming off aren't guaranteed. What we can guarantee for ourselves is how we feel. We have total control over that. So going back to this concept of a promotion, like I want a promotion, I want a promotion. I was like, all right, let's get to the bottom of this. Like, why is this a promotion important to you? And we dug and eventually got to the root that this person wanted to feel valued and respected. So
Mm-hmm.
that was it. I want to feel valued. I want to feel respected. Well, we can guide ourselves toward those feelings because using the law of attraction as a way um, to perceive opportunities in which to feel those feelings. So taking that, like, I want to feel respected, I want to feel valued, we can say, okay, so promotion aside, when in your life do you feel valued and respected? And how can you cultivate more of that?
Mm-hmm.
And then chances are, then either the promotion happens or it doesn't, but the value and respect will inevitably come into that the heart and come into the life of that
Mm-hmm.
person. So it's just a more um, meaningful way, more soulful way to guide our lives and on these exterior things that we don't have control over. We don't have control over if someone wants to give us a promotion or if someone wants to give us a bigger bonus, but we have
Yeah.
control over how we want to feel and how we do feel.
Mm-hmm. That for some reason made me think of having a scent. Um, okay, now what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you have the feeling and emotion that you want. Okay, you get clear and understand what that is and you feel it. Now you introduce a scent or a smell into it. So that way, because I mean, our we human beings, we can remember up to I think 5 million scents or something like that, or smells, like a ridiculous amount of smells. And that's why sometimes when you smell something, it triggers a memory and it brings you back into that moment of when you smelt that smell. Like I have some smells that I smell and they bring me back into that moment. And I mean, not all of them are great moments, right? But when you take those feelings and emotions, those experiences that you want, and you attach a scent to it, now you create, like you have that many more pulls towards it. So
Yeah.
every time you want to be reminded of that experience that you're trying to create, have that scent and smell it. And it will instantly trigger all the feelings and emotions and experiences that you are looking forward to, right?
Yeah, sound as well. Like I mentioned the beach earlier because
Mm-hmm.
the when I expanded from primarily resonating with level 4 energy to level 5 energy, it was right after I'd been on a trip to the island of Anguilla in the British West Indies. And I made it a point that that trip was going to be self-care. Like I got up and meditated with the sunrise every day and really tapped into the frequency of that island. and I got to know the locals, and they were like, they all resonated with gratitude. Like, it just felt, everything just felt like gratitude. It felt like peace. It felt like calm. And even though that island has its dangers, like it gets devastated by hurricanes on a regular basis, but it doesn't. They don't live in fear. They're just constantly grateful. And so while I was there, I'd be meditating in the morning, and I'd talk with myself, and I'd like, keep this in your heart. Always return to this. This feeling is real. This is all that's real. When you go back to Boston, this will always be in your heart. You can return to it. You can return to it. And I did. I brought that frequency. I kept it all in my heart, and I came back to Boston, and I was doing things that, like in Boston when you're riding the T, which is the subway system there, nobody looks at each other, nobody smiles, everybody keeps their heads down, keeps themselves. And I was like, I don't like that frequency, because on Anguilla, everyone smiled at each other. So I'm going to be on the T smiling. And I looked like a psycho to everybody else.
Everybody's a friend and family.
Yeah.
Over there. And here, everyone is separated.
Yeah. And I preferred the the friend and family. Like, we all trusted each other. Like, you could like leave your shit anywhere and it would be fine. Like, it's fine,
Yeah.
you could leave your doors unlocked. And so I wanted to bring that feeling back to Boston. So my entire exterior world was different in Boston, of course. It was cold. It was like everybody's rushing. That was another thing. Like, the pace of the island. I was like, I just had the mindset of island time. I was like, I'm going to be on island time. I'm going to go back to Boston, and I'm going to maintain island time. And I did. I was able to maintain it for myself. I could sense when I made other people uncomfortable, like super empath, sensory skills. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely making people uncomfortable because I'm walking around smiling. But why is that my problem?
Well, because they probably think you're smiling at them. Because people usually see someone smiling or someone laughing, and they think it's about them.
Right, which is their issue. It's their problem. Like, it's for them to deal. I'm smiling because I have gratitude in my heart and peace in my heart. So I was able to guide I was like, made a conscious decision. I want to feel this. This is how I want to feel. The way I feel on this island, I want to feel it at all times, or as often as possible. I know it's not possible to feel it at all times. Shit happens, but as often as possible, I want to be able to return to it. If something shakes me, I want to be able to center and return to it. And through that process, I began expanding my frequency from the level 4, concern for others, like worrying about my boss, worrying about like what everybody else is, like that concern. The level 4 energy would have caused me to stop smiling because of like, oh, I'm making them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And instead at level 5, I'm like, well, that's their journey. They're responsible for that discomfort. If someone being happy is making them uncomfortable, that's for them to figure out.
Yeah, you just uncovered a potential button that was pushed for them to work through.
Exactly.
That's a huge opportunity for them to grow.
Opportunity, level 5, exactly.
That's right.
So Danielle Laporte's The Desire Map is great. I think a PDF is available online, and if not, I put a PDF in the Empath Warrior Training Group files tab.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like she begins it with talking about New Year's Eve and like scrapping resolutions, and instead focusing on how they want to feel. Like, I want to feel enthusiastic. Like, that's how I began planning my life. Was like, I wanted to feel like, one year I was like, I want to feel enthusiastic. The next year I was like, I want to feel peace. And then I've let when I remember recognizing that year that I was like, I want to feel peace. I just want to cultivate peace. I remember the little things that would occur, and I'd be like, this. And then you can celebrate. It's amazing. We're like, oh, whoa, I feel at peace right now. I feel peace. And then celebrating, like, I did it. Like, I cultivated this feeling for myself.
Yeah. That's
Which
what I've been focusing on, honestly, this entire year, I would say. And it didn't, I couldn't even tell you when I started to feel, really start experiencing peace. I don't think it took very long because it all started with going through the law of being,
mm-hmm.
right? I mean, it started before that because everything that I was learning and observing and doing and whatnot, and then the law of being was exactly what I was looking for because it reassured me of so many things, and it made so much sense, from every CD, from every workbook that came with the CD, right, with every page. So all of it, to me, it helped me to understand that much more. And then when I just started thinking, that's what I want. I want peace in my life. No matter what happens, I want to feel and experience peace, right? And in order for me to understand that that's what I wanted, I first needed to understand what the lack of peace felt like
Mm-hmm.
and living that way. And then once I recognized that's what it was, and this is what I wanted, by shifting the focus and reminding myself what I did want, and not thinking about the things that I didn't want, because quite often we focus on, oh, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. But what you're doing is you're asking for that because
Right.
you're focusing on that. So if you, and this is one of the things, like a quote I guess I shared a while ago that people still talk about that they like, is that if you are a person that worries a lot, that means that you're able to focus on what it is that you want, and
Mm-hmm.
you can create what you want. It's a good thing to be a big worrier, right? Because then you take that concept of you worrying all the time and apply it to the things that you want to have, and you can worry about the things you want to have instead. If you want to have peace in your life, you focus on and worry about peace, peace, peace. I love peace. Now, how do I have more peace in my life? How do I have more peace in my life? I want more of that. How do I have it? But simply just thinking about it that way, some people might think, well, it's a negative way to think about it. Like, well, how do I have it? By simply asking that question, you will have it and you will get the answer how to have it.
Yeah, because what you're doing is you're conditioning yourself to perceive opportunities in which to experience it. And then once you do, you see it's possible, you feel it. Once you feel something, then you understand. And
Yes.
that's the main thing I remember explaining to someone who was like focusing on what they don't want. I was like, the universe doesn't hear no.
Yeah.
So even though you're saying no, like let's just use chaos for example, or like yeah, like even though you're like no chaos, no chaos, I don't want any more chaos. All you're focusing on is chaos. So the universe
Yeah.
is like, oh, I think she wants chaos. Um, so, but if you're focusing on peace and calm instead, like I remember making this adjustment when I I was like overwhelmed by all the male egos in my workplace and all because I was like obsessing like oh like male egos like I'm so sick of them, I don't want any more male egos. And my coach was like, well, all you're focusing on are male egos, so you might want to focus on something else. And I started focusing on what I do enjoy. Like I picked a model like male that seemed to not have an ego. It's the public figure Jason Silva. I was like, okay, I like this guy. He like at the time he was the dude. This was like in 20, I want to say 2013, 2014. And I was like, what do I like about him? And I was like, I like his enthusiasm. I like his stream of consciousness. I like his ability to surrender. And I started focusing on that, and that like shifted my entire perception. So that the male egos around me, it was like they were like minimized and almost like muffled. Like we were saying about that state of meditation when you're locked in and like things that might be perceived to be annoying are muffled, so they're not annoying.
They don't take away, they add to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it has that the value of the dichotomy, the duality shows up in that moment. Like, oh yeah, I remember when this used to bother me, and now I see the value in it because it taught me what I do want to attract in my life.
Yeah, exactly, right? And even those times when we think of everything we don't want, it helps us to understand more of what we do want. But once we understand what we want, once we get clear on what we want, then focus on that more.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use the same questioning as why this thing always happens to me, right? Why do I, for me, what I started doing was because I used to wake up every morning with massive anxiety and feeling sad and wanting and crying and puking most mornings because of my anxiety. So I caught myself asking question, why do I always wake up anxious? Right? So my every morning was confirming why, right? My every morning was doing that. And then I changed it to why do I wake up feeling grateful? Why do I wake up feeling happy? Why do I wake up with a smile on my face, right? By simply just changing the wording inside here, I found myself waking up in the morning with a smile on my face without even having to ask a question, right?
Yeah.
And I would have a smile on my face, and I'm like, why am I smiling? I look like a special person because I am.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And to me, that was proof that by simply changing those words, you can still ask the same question, just change the most important word in that question and ask a more empowering question as opposed to depowering question, if that's a word. If not, we should put it in the dictionary.
That's empowering. Yeah.
Disempowering. I was like, depowering.
Yeah, I mean that is changing like as we talked about last time with the neural pathways is building an entirely new neural pathway,
Yeah.
a new story.
And it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah. And it comes from a place of deciding that you're worth it. That this is worth it. It's worth it to change the story. Like we
yeah.
are worth it. Our
And it's
existence
time.
is worth it.
Yeah. And it's time to do it, right? If not now, then when? Get rid of
Exact
the whole I'll be happy when syndrome.
destination addiction. Yeah.
Why wait to be happy? Why put off happiness? Why put off joy when you can experience that right now? Because the destination is not the goal and it's not a destination. It's what you're going to feel. Like when it comes to, for example, vacation. That's why people, when they go on vacation and they're there, they're like, I thought it was going to be better. Why? Why does that happen so often to people? That's because what's more important is what the time that's leading up to the vacation time.
The
They're
anticipation.
experiencing the feeling, the anticipation. They're getting ready. This is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to go. This and this and this. I'm going to feel awesome. You're putting a lot of feelings and emotions in that. And then when you go, you have already used up all of that.
Yeah, that's my we read a poem in high school called Ode on a Grecian Urn, and to illustrate the point of the poem, my teacher was like, you know how you all get so excited for prom and like you spend weeks and months like deciding your outfits and like your hair and who you're gonna go with and like the limo and all that, and then prom comes and it's like over before you even know it, and you like didn't even really experience it. And we are like, oh yeah. Yeah. The prom, it wasn't about the prom.
No. And that's the thing. Like we experience this early on in our life, but we're never actually understand that being in the moment, that's what it is, right? Enjoying the journey, being in the moment, being in that state of mind that you're looking forward to. And by simply looking forward to something, you can experience it in the now. So then bringing back to, I want to feel joy, right? I want to feel joy. I want to feel joy. I want to live a joyful life. You look into the future, right? But by looking to the future, you're experiencing it now.
That's another reason I love those I am statements that we use in IPEC, and we take that noun form of the word and say I am. So with joy, it'd be I am joy instead of I am joyful, which is an
Hmm.
adjective. I am joy, because we have our own interpretations and definitions of what these words mean. So I know what joy means to me,
Hmm.
and it's a frequency that I can achieve. So when I say I am joy, then I'm setting myself up to walk in the frequency of what joy means to me.
Yeah.
Or I am peace. I walk in that frequency of what peace means to me. I am loving awareness. I walk in the frequency of what loving awareness means to me, which now, since yesterday, has taken on all new meaning. And there's this song that I love by Wookie Foot. I think it's called "The Road," and in the end, they kind of have a mantra, and it goes, "Peace is not the destination; it's the road that we walk." And I think of that over and over when I'm thinking about any of these affirmations, like joy is the road that I walk, gratitude is the road that I walk. We're walking in those frequencies,
Hmm.
or it's attracting more. Like we're like receivers, receptors, and magnets for what we attract.
Yeah, we just need to be more cautious of what we attract with our words.
And our thoughts.
Hmm. Oh, I just
Um,
looked at the time. It's
yeah, yeah.
time to get ready for the next one.
Next calls, Thursdays. Great days for this, because Thursdays are governed by Jupiter, which is like philosophical planet. So
Oh, I didn't
a
know
good
that.
yeah, we picked a good day to have our calls.
Yeah, my Thursdays are usually like full of calls, and then I have the webinar afterwards, and I try to do some more studying. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much. This was like again, I never know what we're gonna talk about, and I want to talk about this stuff forever. So
Yeah, it just comes to us because again, no plan, no ideas, no thoughts, and it's just whatever was meant to come out.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. We detach from the end result, and fall in love with the journey.
That's right. There's no goal here.
No goal.
There's just a path leading to somewhere.
Yeah. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
All
Awesome.
right.
Okay, until Monday then.
Until Monday. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.